Hey guys, just finished watching Legend of Tomorrow, Season 3, Episode 15, Necromancy, The Stone. This episode is really interesting. Got a ton of different notes here to talk about, a ton of different things that happen. And let's jump into it. The first part, we get Jesse Quick in the recap. And I don't know why they put her in the recap, just because, yes, she was in here, the actress was around, and it really was cool that she was around to do that. They had her back on The Flash, and they went, oh, they needed you over, they could use you over here on Legends, so also come over and just do this little quick scene on Legends. That was really cool for that. I was hoping that we'd actually get Jesse Quick in this episode, but we don't. We just get a hallucination, someone pretending to see her, and it's not actually her there. There's no chance of ever her joining the team type of thing. So I don't know why they really had her in the recap though, because yes, it recaps the fact that he had a relationship and they broke up and all that stuff, but they literally, her only scene in this episode is exactly explaining their relationship that they had. So if they had not shown us in the recap that she was here when it came on screen, it would have been way more of a surprise. And you didn't need the backstory to see this scene. This entire scene explains it itself. Why, how their relationship and where they left off and all that stuff. He literally says, "You broke my heart when you left," all that stuff. So there was no reason to put that in the recap. It seems like someone just said, "Oh, this is here," and then they didn't watch the episode before making the recap. It was just kind of, it would have been way more better to see the thing without spoiling it in the beginning with the recap. And I think that was kind of annoying how the recap kind of spoiled it, and it didn't surprise me as much as possible because I saw the recap type thing. So it was just kind of, oh, there she is, and it's like, okay, but there was no. It would have been way better if they hadn't spoiled it. And then we get Sarah has a nightmare, but Ava's there too. And she wakes up with Ava next to her, and she has a nightmare and stuff. And they start talking about different things, and Ava gets jealous of Constantine and Sarah hooking up back in the 60s. We're 69, which was actually 3 weeks ago. And then we get Wally. Then Sarah gets called to the front there, and she calls the rest of the Legends, and Rory's not there. Wally goes, yeah, we're Rory and stuff. He wasn't dressed. We get Sarah then splits up the Legends, sends different people on different missions. Ray stays back to work on the fire totem, and then she tries to call Constantine, but he has no phone, which doesn't make sense. He had a phone back in Arrow when Sarah originally came back from the dead, when Laurel Lance actually brought Sarah back from the dead using the Lazarus pit, and she was kind of like all like dead, like a zombie-defied type thing, and he called, like Oliver literally called John Constantine on the phone. So I don't know why. I guess he doesn't have that phone anymore. He lost that phone somewhere. Then we get the death totem starts to ring to Sarah. And then we see Sarah looking at herself, seeing the Black Canary, the dead Black Canary type thing from first season, which was pretty interesting with that. Pretty cool seeing that. I like when they kind of connect with this, and it was an interesting episode. There's so much backstory here that if you've only watched Legend of Tomorrow, you don't know any of this backstory. And I liked how they did that on this episode. They showed us previously Jesse Quick, but they didn't show us previously on Arrow and previously on this and all the different stuff, because there's too much backstory to give. And I really don't understand why they should have explained that. They should have previously on there. It would have been better to show, Sarah dying as on Arrow, dying as a Black Canary a long time ago, because that was way longer than it was for Jesse and Wally breaking up. So I think that would have been a better priority for the recap, rather than just showing Jesse and spoiling her cameo on the show. I think that would have been interesting, and there would not have been a spoiler. We're going to see in the younger version, the Black Canary, Sarah back in the Black Canary costume. That would not have been a spoiler, because it would be something difficult to predict and stuff like that, whereas seeing her clearly was a spoiler. She's going to be in the episode. So then we see that, and we see Zari and Amaya come back, and they go and they find Ray on the floor. So Ray's kind of out for this episode. He's not really in it. And we find Sarah is now death. She's being controlled by Mullis and the totem and stuff. We get Wally and Rory. Well, Wally ends up coming in and saving Rory and Amaya from Sarah. That was pretty cool with that. And then Sarah kind of locks down the Rave Riders, and she's still kind of, I guess he still has her, even though Sarah's inside of there, Molly still has her knowledge and access to her knowledge and all that stuff. That was really cool with that. We get Jesse Wells, kind of, but not a real version, like I said. And again, it was kind of annoying. Why did they have to go and spoil that with a recap? Because they literally said, all their lines, all her line of dialogue and all Wally's line to her was exactly the recap, was recapping the thing about how he's moved on from her and all that stuff. So there was no need for that recap. It still just bugs me. We could have used the, Sarah used to be a member of the League of Assassins. Sarah died as the Black Canary. Sarah, all these different things. Those would have been better, foreshadowings and recaps. And they may not have spoiled as much, those recaps, as this Jesse Wells did. And it would have been better to I would have preferred to actually seen her on the show, but I think that would have been a whole other thing to try and, why was she on the show and all that stuff. Would be quite different, especially since she's on a different Earth, so this timeline is not really affecting her at all. And then we get Wally just, gets over Jess and stuff like that, and Jesse Quick, and she kind of, he explains her, he's over her type thing, he's moved on. That's why he went and looked and found himself and went to all the China and went to all the monk stuff. And then Sarah takes out Wally with like the anti-speedster gun. We get Ava and Gary find Constantine. And then Ava and Constantine try to kind of go in and find Sarah and enter in the dimension where she's in. Which is unclear if this is the same dimension, this death totem dimension type thing, or this Mollis dimension. Unless they've called it another name that I forget, let me know in the comments. But or is this the same dimension that Constantine and Oliver and actually Laurel went into to bring Sarah back when her body was in zombified mode after she had been dipped into the Lazarus pit? I think that would be a cool idea to mention that. Obviously it doesn't look like the same dimension, but could it be a different version of the same dimension? I don't know. I feel like it probably is a different version. It clearly doesn't look the same. It doesn't look like but that other dimension was just kind of they reused the same set as of the what was it, Ra's al Ghul, Nanda Parbat, their headquarters, so type thing. So League of Assassins headquarters. But in this, it kind of looks a lot different. They're clearly out just in a green screen room, sand and all that stuff everywhere. But Ava and Constantine can't really can't really enter in the dimension because Mollis won't let them. And then we get Nate goes to look for the Earth totem to use against Sarah and stuff, and he never ends up really using it, so it's unclear as to why he was able to he didn't really use it. So I guess and last time it corrupted people, but it's unclear if it would corrupt him or not, because he picked it up and he was fine, but at the same time he never really put it on. He never wore it as a necklace. So does wearing it as a necklace different than anything else? Because when Worry takes the fire totem later, he just puts it on. He puts it on, then it activates. Just holding it didn't activate it type thing. So it's unclear whether or not Nate would be able to use that or not. And so then we get Nora Dark is also in the Mollis' realm. She's there with the via Maya's totem, the soul totem and stuff, and she's trying to recruit Sarah to join the Darks and stuff, and aiding Mollis, which is unclear if that's actually going to be Mollis. I mean, that's clearly what the Darks are trying to do. Damien Dark's trying to let out the Mollis and all that stuff, but at what point does Mollis is going to destroy everything, and how is that really going to help Damien Dark type of thing if time and everything is all destroyed and there's nothing left for him to live in? It's kind of like to me it seems like Dr. Doom helping Galactus. Galactus is going to eat the world, and Dr. Doom needs to live on that world type thing. He's human too, so it's going to be cool to play with that. And at what point does Mollis become too powerful for the Darks, and then the Darks be like, hey Legends, we need your help taking on Mollis now? I think that would be a cool play with type thing. I would like to see Constantine and Dark type thing using their powers. Maybe Constantine and Nora Dark versus each other. I think that would be really interesting to see, or even the two Constantine versus Nora Dark and Damien Dark. That would be a really interesting idea to play with in a future episode. And then we get so after the Sarah's in there and Nora's talking to her, we get the flashback, or she re-sees a moment of her life when she was part of the League of Assassins, how she killed a father just as the kid came in and saw her dead father kind of in the room. And I think that was an interesting idea with that, because that, if you think back to when that would have happened before she was Black Canary, before she came back to Starling City in season 2 of Arrow, kind of at that point while Oliver was actually on Lian Yu, during that 5 years that Oliver was on Lian Yu, it would have happened, or it could have actually have happened that 1 year during season 1 of Arrow, before she came back in season 2, but it would probably be more likely anytime between before she came back, and also that time she was actually part of the League of Assassins back in season 1, and while Oliver was pre-season 1, while Oliver's on Lian Yu type thing. So I think that's really cool. Or maybe while Oliver was in Tokyo, or was it Tokyo or Japan, or he was on a different place. He was in China type thing, and he was doing different stuff there, and then he went back to the island. So during those 5 years, Oliver was quote unquote dead. That's probably when Sarah did this, and he was killing as a League of Assassins member. So that was really cool to see that. It was really interesting to play with that. It's really nice kind of connecting all her history and seeing more of it. It's really fun doing that. And then we get Nate ends up getting attacked by Sarah, or by death, and he ends up seeing his grandfather, Citizen Steele, or Captain Steele, or Sergeant Steele. I forget the name of his Commander Steele, if I'm not mistaken. So that was really cool seeing that. I kept on thinking, why does he just steal up and then should break her hand type thing? But he can never overcome it. So I guess what's interesting with this with this fear totem, no one was able to conquer their fears. Wally seemed like he was kind of conquering his fears, but it really wasn't his fears. It was just he's over her. I mean, I don't see how. It's interesting to see how Nate, fearing his failing in his grandfather's eyes. I think that makes sense. And Zari seeing her young brother and type thing, and she failed him type thing, and that makes sense. But Wally, I don't think he failed, or he is scared. I can see how those two were scared of those characters that they saw, but Wally being scared of Jesse Quick, that doesn't make sense to me. Maybe him not being over her, yeah, that can make sense, but that's not really what he'd be scared of. So I think it's interesting with that to see different things. I think it would have made more sense probably for Wally to see maybe Joe or Iris kind of dying and stuff, and that would be his scary thing, is that he's lost his mother already, and he just met his father, just met his sister. He's only really met them. He hasn't really spent 10 years really with them at this point yet. So, and now he leaves, and he's not there to help them, which I guess I'm glad they didn't do that, because that would make him want to go back time and stay with them. But it was just interesting to see how that's going to play out with like they said at the end, why did they make him why did they make him see all these different things? And Sarah was like, she had no idea. So maybe they'll play on that as to why Wally sees Jesse and not someone else like Joe or Iris or anyone like that. I think it's really going to be cool to play with all that, or even someone of the Speed Force type thing playing with that too. So then we get to see Ava and Constantine end up showing up in the Rave Rider. They finally end up finding Sarah when they start looking for the Death Totem and stuff. Also Gary's there with them. We get Sarah start to sound like Astra. It's kind of, I guess it makes me want to rewatch the Constantine stuff, but there's so many shows to rewatch. It sounds like Astra and stuff, and Constantine even offers, they even get offered the Astras for Sarah, and Constantine kind of plays with it, but then he kind of switches it back and kind of lets, obviously realizes that there's no way Mullis would let Astra go. I think it's interesting playing with that, and I love when they kind of connect it into the Constantine show, and I think it would definitely be cool to get some answers from the producers of this show, kind of, how much of the Constantine show is part of this. Like I keep saying, there was the Swamp Thing head in the first episode of the Constantine show, and there was the helmet of Naboo, the Dr. Fate's helmet, was in the first episode of the other show, which was actually a prop that was first made for Smallville, and they just put it in as an Easter egg in that show. So if it exists in Constantine, I would imagine it also exists now in this universe. So that would be a cool thing to bring into at one point in one of these series, bringing in the helmet of Naboo. It would be pretty awesome to see that. So he kind of, Constantine really, even later on, admits to Sarah that he would have switched for it. He would have done the trade, because that's just how he is, and he's a dark person like that. And I think I like that idea. These characters are not perfect. They're not great, and they're kind of flawed, and that's where his flaw is, that he'd give anyone up to get Astra back, because that's his biggest regret type thing. And I think I like that for Constantine, and it's interesting to see where things are going to go with that as things move on. Then we get Rory puts on the fire totem. He ends up fighting Sarah, throws some fire at him. So that'd be cool to play with that as Rory plays with the fire totem, because why is he going to want the his gun anymore. It would be cool is if from now on he could just use the fire totem and be more powered, like, and I think that could be quite interesting to play with that, if how long they're going to keep all these totems, because at the end of the day, at the end of all this season, Vixen has to keep her totem, because what other powers is she going to have if she, we're not going to get just Maya running around with no powers in season 2 for the rest of the series. After this, we're not going to destroy all the totems and Maya have no more powers. So in that case, because of that, Maya pretty much has to keep her totem, unless she keeps her totem and goes back to Zambezi without her totem and kind of lives her life and that's it and we never see her again. That could be an option, but I think if we're going to keep her around as Vixen, she needs to have her totem and keep the powers, otherwise she's just kind of someone without powers type thing. So in that idea, because she has to keep her powers, has to keep her totem, why can't Rory keep this totem as a fire totem type thing? Well, it'll be cool to see how we play with that. Or maybe they all get destroyed except Maya as a totem so she can keep that. We'll have to wait and see how things kind of finish up with that. And then we get Ava ends up saving Sarah when she's kind of talking over her body and Sarah can hear her type thing. And then Sarah at the end just kind of pushes Ava away because she has too much of a dark path and all that stuff, and it really is an interesting relationship to do this and stuff and continue on, and you can't wait to see how I'm really hoping that Ava kind of doesn't give up type thing with this relationship, because if Ava just gives up, then it kind of just fizzles out the relationship and they're both giving up on each other, and I think it's really going to be interesting to see that. I'm hoping that kind of Ava would kind of continue on going back and looking back into Sarah's history, maybe even going back in time and watching Sarah's history and everything and seeing all her dark dimensions and her dark demons and doing all that, and maybe Sarah goes back and sees all the different people that she's killed and sees all this different stuff and just so that she knows what Sarah's going to, because what's stopping Ava from doing that, from just going back in time and watching, oh, she killed this person, she killed that person, she killed this person, she killed this person, oh, he killed that person, oh, this guy would have done this, and then Ava going back in time and being like, oh, this guy, actually, you killed him because he did this, and if he had stayed alive, he would have done this, he would have done that, I think it would have been interesting to do that, to see, just to see kind of Ava fighting for Sarah. I think it's really going to be fun to see that, and we really usually don't see much of Ava when she's not with the Legends, so hopefully we can get some of that. I don't know if we necessarily need to see her do all the research to do that, but at least imply that she's doing stuff and she's kind of, fighting for Sarah. I think that's really going to be fun to see that, and also get the rest of the Legends' opinion on why that she's broken up with Ava and how that's going to play out. It's going to be fun to see that, because it is a really great relationship so far. So she pushes away, and then we see Constantine playing D&D with Gary. So that's all in all is really interesting to see. It was a really fun episode, really awesome having Constantine around. I really hope I would like to see him become a permanent Legends member, and if Sarah even offers him, jokingly says, hey, I should just make a bed for you to stay here, just because she's so kind of always in need of Constantine and stuff, and I like that idea. But I guess with they do have the Constantine show coming out, so at that point he doesn't have, or the cartoon show, so maybe have him do his own thing and then have him come back. I think it's really cool having him around here. I feel like the writers are maybe they're not allowed to have him full time on the show and have him in every single episode, but I feel like they're kind of trying to keep him out of this episode, because every time he's around, the budgets are maybe higher type thing and all that stuff. So it would be awesome to see him come full time, because really the cartoon is going to be interesting, going to be fun to watch, but it's really just going to be a one-time movie and 5 episodes type thing, or a very short movie, hour-long movie type thing they're going to put out, and that's it. So I really would like to see him come permanent. We'll have to wait and see how things go. Maybe if enough of us watch the CWC stuff and watch these episodes when he's here, that he'll actually maybe potentially come part of a member for the next season. I think that could be quite interesting to see that, and be quite fun to see how that would play out, because I really like his dynamics when he's on the show and all the magic and stuff. I really think it is cool, and again, it would build up the team, putting another big gun. Even Constantine probably would say he was a bigger gun than anything else, because his you have Firestorm and all these different characters, and you have the Flash coming, you have Kid Flash coming on here, but Kid Flash so far, like, he got taken out as the first person to get taken out after Ray. So I think having Constantine on here would definitely open up a whole new dimension type thing. And not every season has to be magic with just because you have Constantine, but having him around using magic to fight other things, non-magic threats, I think it would be cool. Because what would it be like if we had Constantine during last season when they were fighting the Legion of Doom and the time travel with that, and the speedsters and Malcolm Merlin and all those different things? I think that could have been an interesting idea of having someone with magic, throwing magic powers, and just doing different magic things. I think it'd be quite fun to play with that. So I think all in all, it could be quite cool to see him join the show. Fingers crossed. It doesn't look like it. I mean, the character doesn't really want to do that. It doesn't look like he would want to do that, but I think it'd be quite cool to see different things, and I think it'd be quite interesting to see him hopefully join the team. Maybe we'll see how things go with that. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below of Legend of Tomorrow, Season 3, Episode 15. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.